2020 was a disaster for Michigan. This was not a team that I was really high on coming into last year just because of all the losses that they had and the guys that had opted out and all of that. But I didn't expect 2-4. I didn't expect a losing record for Michigan. It was just a rough year. So you look ahead to 2021. Will they be able to get it turned around? That's the big question, of course. And they made some changes in their coaching staff, and maybe it'll pay off. We'll have to wait and see, obviously. But when you look at how everything kind of went against them last year, the injuries, COVID, and just everything that's kind of went against Michigan, you have to expect this team to at least be a little bit better. I mean, it can't get much worse for the Wolverines. You look at what they have coming back. Cade McNamara, Joe Milton, both of those guys will be back. Neither one of them was overly impressive. I think if you're going to beat the top teams in the Big Ten, you're going to have to get better quarterback play. Does that mean that one of these guys gets better during the offseason, improves enough to where they can deliver for their team when it matters? Or will it be the incoming freshman, J.J. McCarthy, a 5-star recruit? Maybe he takes that job. Maybe he's the starter next year. Only time will tell. But when you just have options, I think that is a good thing. And I think among the three of them, they're going to get something to where they'll be better at quarterback than they were last year. Now, at running back, you lose Jack Charbonnet. He's gone, and that is a huge loss. I kind of question why he didn't play more myself. When you look at his speed, his explosiveness, I thought he was the most talented running back on the roster and really didn't play a ton last year. But Hassan Haskins is back. He'll be the go-to guy. Also, Blake Corum, another speedster, will be back. He was just a freshman last year and was very productive for them. Chris Evans, he was a senior. He's gone. But overall, I think they're going to be okay at running back. At wide receiver, good news for them is that Ronnie Bell will be returning. And they've got a lot of young talent at wide receiver. I think you're going to see improvement there with Henning and Jackson and Johnson, Roman Wilson, a bunch of young guys that I think will step up next year. And you're going to see, if you get better quarterback play with these talented young wide receivers, I think the passing attack for Michigan can be much better, much better. At tight end, they do lose Nick Eubanks, but Eric All will be back there at that spot. Looking at the offensive line, Jalen Mayfield, he's going to be gone. I believe he was injured most of the year last year, but still, this is a very talented player that they would have liked to have had back. He was just a redshirt sophomore last season. Also, Zach Carpenter, who played center for them, he is going to be gone. He transferred. So other than that, everything looks pretty solid on the offensive line. It's not an area where I think you're overly excited about, but I don't think it's going to be a disaster or anything on the offensive line for Michigan. I think they'll be okay, but maybe not elite on the offensive line. Then we go to the defensive side of the ball. Kwity Paye is gone. He will be off to the NFL. Villain at defensive end, he transferred out. But the good news, again, Aiden Hutchinson will be back. We're talking about a guy that has All-America potential, was injured most of last year. That's good news to get him back. And then in the middle, the interior of the defensive line, Christopher Hinton will be back. That's big. Donovan Jeter, a guy that some thought would leave, he will be back as well. Mozzie Smith will be back. Carlo Kemp, he did leave. He was a senior. But overall, I think the defensive line will be pretty strong for them. Looking at the linebackers, Cam McGrone is gone. Big loss, but they return everyone else, including Josh Ross, who I think has a chance to be a breakout player next year. And again, the rest of the linebackers will be returning. Then you look at the secondary, and I dissect these rosters every offseason, and I just didn't remember how young this team was in the secondary. I mean, it is almost all sophomores and freshmen, or they were sophomores and freshmen last year in the secondary. I'm on almost every player outside of Brad Hawkins, who's a senior and who will be back. This team was ridiculously young in the secondary. Daxton Hill will be back. He was one of the veterans. He was just a sophomore, and I think he has a chance to have an All-America type year next year. And I think these young guys will be better. And when you look at Michigan and their struggles, I didn't even realize this when I was doing some research for this video. They were 96th in the country in pass defense last year. This was a big problem for them, and I think youth was a big reason why. Well, these guys now are going to have a full offseason, a normal offseason, to work to get better, and I think you will see a much better secondary in 2021 for Michigan. So when you look at all of this, and they do lose Cam McGrone, they do lose Carlo Kemp and Kwity Paye on defense. Those are big losses, but only 3 losses on defense. You lose a couple of guys on the offensive line. You lose Charbonnet, who transferred out. Also, Christian Turner transferred, didn't really play a whole lot. Nick Eubanks at tight end is going to be gone. Overall, though, when you look at this roster for Michigan, I think they have a chance to be significantly better in 2021 if they get good quarterback play, and that is the big key for Michigan. I think everything else is going to be there to where they can be better. Now, I'm not saying Michigan's going to beat Ohio State. I'm not saying they're going to go to the Big Ten championship game. I'm not saying they're going to win 10 games, but they were 2-4 last year. So going 8-4 is a significant improvement. But if they can get good quarterback play, I think you could see this team right there, maybe second or third in the Big Ten East behind Ohio State next year. I think they've got the overall roster talent. They've got depth. Really just getting that secondary to grow up and improve just a little bit, and getting better quarterback play and having a better passing attack. You put those things together, Michigan could be better. I think they will be better. The question really just becomes how much better. Will Michigan be much, much better? Will they look like a different team? Will they be a team that can play with the top teams in the Big Ten? Or will they be a little bit better? They'll go to a bowl game. They'll beat the teams they're supposed to beat, but they really won't compete against Ohio State. That will be the question that we will find out next year. But I think without a doubt, Michigan will at least be somewhat better. And so definitely they get the arrow up. Michigan should be better in 2021.